Hello everybody, the Lawn Gnome is here.
I am lonesome for you.
So for the final one that got away of 2019, I'm happy to provide you guys a double feature. And I have to say that I am really excited to talk about these two specific films, especially because of the common link that they share, and that is the bonds of friendship. One of them is about a duo that had been friends for so many years, and now it was time for them to start seeing their bonds of friendship and really understanding how strong they are to pick them up out of a really bad situation. And the other one is a friendship that is forged through a very intense situation, and through that friendship, the situation is not as bad as it seems. So, the first movie that we're going to be talking about today is Stan and Ollie, which stars John C. Reilly as Oliver Hardy and Steve Coogan as Stan Laurel. Now, a lot of you out there are very, very young, so you probably don't really know much about Laurel and Hardy, and I also have to be honest with you guys. I haven't seen many of the classic Laurel and Hardy sketches, but like the Three Stooges, like George and Gracie, like Abbott and Costello, when it came to great comedy in the golden age of Hollywood, you have to know Laurel and Hardy. And thanks to my late grandmother, she was a huge fan of these guys in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, and she always liked to tell me about their skits and their movies, and I did actually see them in Babes in Toyland / March of the Wooden Soldiers, whatever that movie is called these days, and I even remember them being portrayed in one of the new Scooby-Doo movies. So, this is a very interesting biopic because it's not about their beginnings and about them when they were at the top of their game. This movie takes place in 1953, years after the sun had technically set on this comedic duo, and they still believed that they had a little bit more gas left in their tank, so they embarked on a comedic tour all over the United Kingdom for the sake of trying to get some relevancy back into their routines and see if they had what it took in the 1950s and Hollywood. So when I saw the trailers for this movie, I was extremely excited. I really wanted to see it because it looked wonderful, and to finally see something about these guys would be something that I knew I'd be interested in, but many theaters were not showing it near me, and the fact that I have now seen it, it really is a beautiful film. It is a true story about contesting your friendship, seeing how the other lives in dark times. Also, it was a sad movie to watch at times just because of their emotions and how they were feeling when they weren't seeing the big crowds, even though they were still being found by fans who absolutely loved their work, and even their health issues were getting in the way, and it was actually kind of sad to know that after this comedic tour, which really took its toll on Oliver Hardy, he actually would unfortunately pass away a couple of years later. But the performances are fantastic. John C. Reilly and Steve Coogan are fantastic. I know that John C. Reilly was up for a Golden Globe. I'm really surprised that it didn't get much Oscar buzz in the last year's ceremonies because it really is a fantastic film, and it's gotten me a lot more curious to try and go into the archives and actually watch some of their old routines, because even though I didn't watch them, thanks to my grandmother, I knew a lot about their sketches. The infamous piano going up the stairs, I mean, that has been portrayed in so many things, even in the most recent years. I mean, that routine of theirs pretty much evolved into the pivot routine in that famous Friends episode, which is now legendary. But you know you have to tip your hats off to Laurel and Hardy when it comes to something as classically comedic as that. It is a brilliant film. I loved it. I would love to watch it again. I also would highly consider getting it on DVD. It's just full of charm and full of hope, and it was just amazing to actually see these two greats try and prove that they really were truly great. And it's something that even a lot of actors who feel that they don't have much left to give can be motivated by. Definitely see Stan and Ollie. I'm giving it a 4 stars out of 4. The next film that I'm going to talk about is the Best Picture of 2019. Sans controversy, everybody. I don't want to focus on that. And that, of course, is Greenbook. That was, of course, directed by one of the Farrelly brothers, which was a very bold statement to make, considering the fact that when you think of Farrelly brothers, you think of movies like There's Something About Mary and other outrageous comedies. But Greenbook stars Mahershala Ali and Viggo Mortensen. So, Viggo Mortensen is a tough guy from Bronx named. He is out of work at the Copacabana Club because of the fact that there had been an incident and they needed to shut down the club for a little while. So he needed to find work. And he applies for the job of being a driver for a man named Dr. Don Shirley, who is played by Mahershala Ali. And what's very interesting is he's someone that was definitely something that you didn't necessarily see in the early 1960s, and even though he was a man of high class, a man of high stature, people still looked at him awkwardly. Why? Because he was a black man. He was a classically trained jazz piano musician, and he was looking for someone to drive him on his tour through the middle portion of the United States, including some of the high-risk areas of the Deep South, where, unfortunately, in 1962, where the movie takes place, the Jim Crow laws are still very much in effect, and the civil rights laws had not been passed until a couple of years later. But through that, they build a bond of friendship, they break stereotypes. It's not about the color of your skin that makes you a great person, it's the content of your character. Obviously, we all know who said that just a couple of years later, but this movie was so great. I loved the acting in this film. I mean, it was great to know that Mahershala Ali would walk away with the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor because goddamn he deserved it. But I would have loved to have seen Viggo Mortensen get the Academy Award for his role as well. Even though he did get nominated, and granted, I am very happy that Rami Malek won it for Bohemian Rhapsody because I love him as Freddie Mercury in that movie. But Viggo Mortensen was fantastic. He really was. I wish it could have been a tie. That has happened in the Oscars a couple of times. Why couldn't it have happened last time? I think that it would have been a wonderful thing to see. It was such a wonderful movie, filled with charm, filled with a great bond of friendship, and let me just say, I loved how this movie ended. I highly recommend it. I think that it was definitely worthy of Best Picture. It really may not be one of the most glamorous films, but I think it was a movie that we needed to have. You know, just even though it deals with extremely tough subjects, especially in the day and age that we're living in right now, the way that it was portrayed in this film was just absolutely wonderful, and it's a movie that everybody can see, regardless of the foul language. I think that it's definitely a great film that you can show in a race relations class, in a film studies class. I really liked it a lot. I will definitely be seeing this movie again. Not necessarily sure if I want to get it on DVD, but I do really like it a lot. If I find it maybe on a discount rack, I will most likely be adding it to my collection because these two movies have a great deal of rewatchability. I'm also going to be giving Greenbook a very strong 4 stars out of 4. I just had a great time with these two movies, and that's what it's all about. If you don't have a good time with movies, what's the point of going to see them? And the fact that the Best Picture of 2019 was a movie that is just a great, enjoyable watch, that's the kind of movie that needs to get the Best Picture Oscar, and I'm glad that it did. So thank you very much, everybody. That is my review of Stan and Ollie and Greenbook, so please put your comments in the box below and let's discuss. And I will see you next year for another series of One That Got Away. Take care! Hey, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you're new here and want to see more of what my channel has to offer, please click on the link to my last video, or hit that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my uploads. Content of all sorts is posted here quite often, so trust me, you do not want to fall behind. I will see you in the comments, and actions speak louder than words.